Hi, this is Paul Miller from London. Really enjoyed the podcast. Keep it going. Thanks very much.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of InsurTech Business Series podcast. My name is Damola.
And my name is Fulu. Damola, how have you been?
Really great. It's been an interesting couple of weeks so far. Since our conversation with Frederick dropped, it's been quite interesting. A lot of the conversations that we've had and the interest in the industry, and that is one bit that I'm quite interested in. Digital transformation and all of that. So it was an interesting conversation with Frederick, and we definitely are looking forward to even this one with our guest today. What about you? How has the last 2 weeks been?
It was fine. Funnily, Frederick's conversation sort of, helps to shape helps me in a way with, my discussion at the CIN conference.
Okay.
I was, able to. It was similar to what, the keynote speaker said,
Okay.
and it just, there was just a flow. Thanks to Frederick. It was so the conversation was actually very, 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 very helpful. For those that actually not listening to it, we still have the link up on our pages, especially on LinkedIn, so you can go and refer to it if you're still wondering how to maneuver the age of digitalization. I think it's a good one for you to have an understanding of how exactly to go about it, the ecosystem you're supposed to be building and all of that. So talking about that, our conversation today is about microinsurance, which I think is now the new way forward, because that's the gold. If we're trying to calculate the numbers of population that we have, we also need to factor in the numbers of population that can be it goes beyond just saying we have so numbers. How do they translate to money? Am I able to milk money from these people? Am I able to get money from these people? And I always say, the bank would say we're banking the unbankable. So what's going on with the insurance? And this is where this king of microinsurance comes in. He's worked with a microinsurer. He's left. He's going on to build his own, microinsurance company, and he's focusing on agriculture, which is good. And I think that's actually the gold mine in Kenya at the moment. Playing microinsurance in that space just goes to show that that's a good market penetration. So his name is Louis Kibutia, and of course he'll be joining us shortly. But before then, Damola, what do you think?
I think that the future of insurance on the African continent, not just in Kenya, is going to revolve around using technology to scale insurance, and the insurance that you're going to be scaling is not what we have today, but micro, sachet insurance, simple products, that people can purchase via their telco, via their bank, or using a USSD, and things like that. We're definitely looking forward to sharing this conversation and picking the mind of someone who has played in that microinsurance space and is even looking to do a lot more. It's going to be a conversation where you learn a lot about what can be, and the opportunities that are in that space. So we'll share that immediately after this break.
Nice to have you here, Louis. How have you been?
Hi, Victoria. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So I've been well. We're still working on this space, and I'm glad to join you today.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. So I'll be asking you a couple of questions, and first, would like to know who Louis is. Who is Louis? What does he do?
Thank you so much. So basically, Louis is a firstborn of 6, born and raised in a remote village in Kenya, somewhere 200 kilometers away from the city. So Louis is passionate about uplifting those around him and a community at large. So currently I'm using my risk management expertise to create insurance solutions to the underserved community in Kenya and in Africa at large.
Oh wow, that's interesting. So how exactly did you come about the title, the King of Microinsurance? I mean, that's like a big deal. So
yeah.
Tell us how.
Actually, yeah, that's an interesting question, and thanks for asking. So basically, when I was in Microinsure, my good friend and my CEO then, Richard Leptley, actually branded me King Louis. Yeah. And soon everyone was calling me that in the office. Yeah. So I became King Louis. But basically, the King of Microinsurance is more of an aspiration for me. I want to be able to lead Africa at large in solving African problems. Because what I've realized for a bit of long time, we've sat back, especially as professionals around the continent, and watch other people come and do the same thing that we can actually do. So I'm actually taking initiative to go out there and solve these problems based on African perspective, because we've been through these challenges, and I think best solutions often come from within and not from without. So the King of Microinsurance is more of an aspiration of where I want to be in the next couple of years.
Oh, okay. I think it's a good one, really. And microinsurance just seems to be one of the ways to go now in terms of insurance distribution, especially to the low income earners. So yes, I think that's interesting. So could you tell us a bit about your work with microinsurance and what you currently do? I know that you've worked with Microinsure, but currently, what do you do, and what have you done in that microinsurance space?
I usually tell people that I think microinsurance chose me, and I didn't actually choose microinsurance, because what happened, it started back when I was in uni. Me and my friends were working on several projects to present so that we can graduate. And the projects we were working on, two of them, specifically with one friend of mine called Alfred. So when we were working on this project, we kept coming across microinsurance references, but then we didn't even know what microinsurance was all about. And then when we dug deeper, we realized actually whatever we were trying to do was actually microinsurance. And there was one particular company which was already doing stuff that we were trying to solve. That's how we researched and came to know about now Microinsure. And because of these interlocking interests, I decided to pursue a career in microinsurance, and that's how I joined Microinsure and started my career over there as an actuary analyst. So in general, I've worked with Microinsure, as you've mentioned. I've also worked with Pula. So on one hand, Microinsure deals mostly with health insurance, life, a property kind of insurance. And then the other side, Pula deals with insuring smallholder farmers against adverse weather and other systemic risks that normally happen to farmers. So I started off with Microinsure, but I felt there was a bit of me that was still missing. I hadn't quite pursued the 360 degrees of microinsurance. And after being there for a while, I decided to try the other side of microinsurance, which is now crop and agriculture insurance. So I've been there for a bit of some months, but recently I've decided to pursue my own interests by venturing into consulting in the microinsurance space. And then I'm also working with a microinsurance startup that will be coming up very soon.
Oh, wow. Congratulations in advance.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. So, okay. So I know that you've spoken about, having like a 360-degree approach in microinsurance, and I know that microinsurance is actually budding. We haven't gotten to that point where a lot of people are aware about microinsurance. So how exactly would you describe the development and growth of microinsurance in the insurance industry?
So, well, microinsurance started off from NGOs and donor-funded projects. The projects that were just done to help communities with no commercial interest whatsoever. But what has happened over time, it has evolved and been proven actually to be a sustainable business. For example, with the guys like Microinsure and Pula, you may know of Bima and the rest. So right now where we are in terms of the microinsurance space, these are actually sustainable businesses which people are pursuing. So the main difference between microinsurance and the traditional insurance is basically in all levels of insurance. There are majorly three levels that I like to categorize when looking at this. Is that there's a product. So this involves the risk covered, the premium, the benefit, and how you approach these particular products is different from any other kind of product because the risk you're covering. So traditional insurance would look at a guy has a car, has a house. They're covering their business or they're giving them education insurance. But in microinsurance, you're covering basic health, or this guy is doing a small business somewhere, and tomorrow they come and being thrown away by the government, or their small shop will get burned down, or they're in the slums. There are all sorts of security risks. So the stuff that you're really trying to cover is very different from the traditional insurance. So how you go about pricing that, it's entirely a different approach. Then the next thing is processes. In process, this involves how do people onboard onto these products? How do the people actually claim for insurance? And the reason this is different is because you imagine a person with maybe just a feature phone. They don't have a smartphone to actually purchase your insurance. How do you reach out to them? You can't use maybe agents because it really doesn't make commercial viability. How do they actually claim? You don't want to tell these people to submit 1,000 documents just to get them to give them their benefit, because first of all, the benefit is probably very small. You don't want them to invest a lot, and secondly, they don't even have these documents. You go asking for death certificate, or I don't know which form, filled by who. They don't have all these information at hand. So how do you go about insuring this with very minimal information and still making sure that the product actually works? And then the last category is distribution. You can't distribute this product the same way you distribute in any other kind of products. So for traditional insurance, you have a guy in a suit, you'll even give them a car, or they'll even have a driver because they're going to sell insurance. But when it comes to microinsurance, you're selling products worth $1 or even less than $1. How do you make commercial business out of it? So you need to use efficient business model to actually make sure it doesn't cost you a lot and it makes commercial sense. So it's different in all these three dimensions when you compare it with the traditional insurance.
Now that you mentioned distribution, what do you think and how do you think that microinsurance can be widely sold, especially with the aid of technology? How do you think we can distribute this to all of the low income earners? I know that currently you are doing something in the agricultural space, which is fantastic, having to go to the rural areas to have farmers' attention, have marketers' attention, and all of that.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because whenever you're talking about microinsurance, distribution is literally the key thing to look out for. So for me, right now, as it is, to go and sell microinsurance tomorrow, the best way to go about it, and what we've been doing with different organizations, is using familiar brands. You don't want to go sell individually. You don't want to show up to a person and tell them, hey, do you want to buy this insurance? Do you want to buy this insurance? So you need aggregators. You need a pool of people who are already in one platform. They're brought together by a common interest. So this could be, say, their circle, their table banking, where they meet every week. Or this could be their bank, or their mobile phone company. So you need aggregators, and the reason you need aggregators is, again, as I said, you need efficient distribution models. And another thing is the element of trust. Remember, these are people who never had insurance before. If they have had, the only thing they've had is basically negative press about insurance. So it becomes very hard to actually sell insurance individually to these people. So, but when you go through a familiar brand, they've already bought something from them, or they're already getting some sort of a service, then the conversation becomes much simpler. And even when you're going to them, you don't even go mostly with your brand. If you have XYZ insurance, you don't say I'm XYZ insurance. You actually use the proxy, which is say the organization or the aggregator you're working with, to actually reach these people. So that is the immediate way and the most practical way to go to business tomorrow. But in the long run, this will all go to mobile. These partnerships don't last. Today you sign up with a big telco, and then tomorrow the CEO decides, no, this project is not worth it, and cancels the contract. Then where do you go? So owning the customer and having the 100% control of the customer is the what you call the medium term. And now that goes mobile. Right now, Kenya has more than 91% mobile penetration. In Africa, it's about 80%. That's good already to go into the market with. So the more people become familiar with microinsurance and these distribution models, the more slowly but slowly they'll start engaging with you directly through mobile and creating effective business models through mobile phones, whether these are feature phones or smartphones. That's what I see the future is.
You talked about mobile phones and having like 100% of your customers under you. I know that microinsurance is also heavily reliant on partnerships currently. If you're not partnering with telcos, you're probably partnering with microfinance banks or, like you mentioned, aggregators earlier. So, in a bid to aid actual distribution to this population, what would you say would be an alternative should these partnerships fail? Are there other unexplored distribution channels?
Yeah. So aggregators, as I said earlier, it makes a lot of sense, and it's an easier business model to go into because you go speak to a bank and they agree to offer insurance to their customers. Then all of a sudden you have 100K customers and you're good. So your question is, what happens if this guy wakes up tomorrow and says, you know what, this is not working for us and we are canceling? So where I see, especially in Africa, as the immediate way to go after that is what I mentioned earlier. It comes down to mobile. You may know of Blue Wave, headed by Adelaide Odhiambo. They're actually trying to do this, where they reach out to customers directly through a USSD platform, and customers are able to enroll totally without depending on any other kind of brand. What that happens is then it becomes slightly difficult because then it's harder to convince people to just go dial your USSD and start buying. But if the products are lucrative, if the products make sense for people, yes, you might spend a slightly higher marketing cost than, say, if you partnered with one bank, but it will eventually reach there. So I guess the question is, who best can entice the customer? Because at the end of the day, they want to see value. They want to have a reason to actually dial that code or go get into that app and actually do. So what sort of incentives are you going to put in place to actually make sure people are actually buying through mobile directly from you? So mobile phone is definitely the future.
I think this is actually going to be a good one for a lot of organizations, especially startups, to penetrate that particular insurance space. And, having to move away from, currently in Nigeria, we have about, the last time we did the analysis, it was about 0.5% penetration of insurance. So if we're able to have this control over, the microinsurance space, I think that would further push the numbers, which is actually a good one. I think mobile onboarding is the way to go. And like you said, incentives for customers, to come on board. So apart from all of this, what would you describe as the most challenging factors faced with the penetration and growth of microinsurance in your country and the world at large?
So there are definitely a number of factors which are affecting microinsurance. And number one is regulation.
Okay.
So microinsurance for a long time has been treated the same way as other kind of traditional products. As I just explained earlier, is that these are completely different models. You have to think about it differently. How you perceive risk, how you come up with distribution. It's an entirely different kind of aspect. And I'll give you a very good example. So the regulator would say, microinsurance commissions for guys doing microinsurance is capped, say, for example, or a general product in general is capped at 10%, for example. Part of your microinsurance product has an aspect of a general product, and then they would say it's capped at 10%. So 10% of insuring a car, which maybe insurance is like $500, won't be the same as 10% of $1 when it comes to microinsurance. Yeah. So you need to look at these things differently. So they would say you're taking when you try to take, say, maybe slightly higher margins like 15%, they would say, okay, this is not allowed. So you try working with a percentage of small premiums, then it becomes very difficult. And this is why you see maybe some companies are struggling even to scale or even to be sustainable. Then another thing is how you go about capitalization, how you go about even getting those product notes approved, the actuarial calculations, or there's what you call the incidence rate. How you calculate them is entirely different from, say, traditional insurance. So when all these things are not figured out, they're not defined, you have no basis really to say, well, I'm creating my product against this backdrop. So it becomes a very difficult challenge. So like, for example, what I said earlier about capitalization. So right now, or at least before last year, an insurance, if you need to form an insurance company, you need about, so in Kenya shillings, it's like almost 500 million shillings. And that's a lot of money for you to be able to start off a company. So if you just want to pursue microinsurance alone, you find that doesn't really make sense. So another thing is that investors really think microinsurance is not a sustainable business model. They think it's a risk basically you're getting into. And you understand, because nobody really wants to talk to people and expect to make money, at least on first glance, before you can get into the specifics and realize, okay, this is a business model. This is an actually working business model. From the start, many of them would see it as a loser. Yeah. So you find many investors are not willing to come as open and invest in microinsurance. Then the other thing is lack of data. So you want to insure particular people who've never been insured before. No insurance company has ever insured them before. So there's really no data to base your pricing or your product development on. So this has forced many organizations. So before starting a project, you even do pilots to pick up the data and now use that to justify your project, or what you call a dry runs. All these are meant to first generate data, do a small project, and then I use that to scale. So that's another thing that has really hindered this space, because no one has ever insured these people before. So you really don't have any data to base your product development. So to overcome that challenge, what people are doing is that you conduct a dry run or you conduct a pilot, so that then you can use that data to inform your product development, and now use that to actually scale. So you find you scale gradually because you want to acquire data in a consistent manner. You don't want to go big with the wrong assumptions and then end up messing everything. So yeah, those are the three challenges that I've seen with the sector so far. Wow,
just like similar challenges that we currently have in Nigeria, except for the fact that I think regulation has more. We have more issues with regulation than the other parts of it. For data analysis, in terms of partnership with telcos and microfinance banks, for instance, we've been able to manage that. And then luckily with the CBN and BVN, we're able to get some of these customers' data. With everybody that banks in Nigeria, it's expected that you have bank verification number. So I think that has helps. Then in terms of investments, like you mentioned, I know that Bima currently had an investment for one of their microinsurance products. And I know that you're about to start your own, launch your own startup. So how exactly are you accessing the impact of increased competition, distribution channels and new technologies that, this is bringing to the market?
That's actually a very interesting question, and I'm actually glad you asked this question, because, let's look at it this way. I wouldn't really be concerned about competition, because even with all these mushrooming insurtechs and microinsurance startups, and not just Bima, there's so many startups coming up right now, insurtechs, and claiming to be solving problems within this space. But we are barely scratching the surface. I mean, less than 10% of Africans are insured. That leaves us with more than 1 billion people still without insurance. So there's a big space to play. So the problem is that these startups reach a few thousand customers, and then they make a lot of noise here and there, fundraising left, right, and center. like you've seen a lot of webinars happening the last couple of months. but really, it tends to paint a picture. There's so many players, like the market is now almost, basically there's so many players, and it kind of paints the wrong picture from what's happening on the ground. On the ground right now, you go to my village, I guarantee no one person has heard of any of those microinsurance startups, all of them combined, put in one platform. Yeah. So for me, that gives me the motivation to keep on going. We are still very, very far from reaching where we want to go. Because even if you are to combine all insured lives from all those startups, you realize it's still a fraction of where we should be going. It's not really an issue for me when I look at this industry. In any case, it's good because if say Bima pitch to Safaricom, for example, and they say they are in microinsurance space, when I go there pitching tomorrow about a partnership, then they've done some bit of work for me because now they already know what microinsurance is all about, so it becomes easy. If say Richard or Rose or Simon from Oko pitched somewhere or did a presentation or a conference or a webinar and talked about microinsurance, when the next time I'm talking about it, people are already familiar with it, so they're more likely to listen. So I think it's good that we have all these startups coming up and raising and expanding. I think it does more good in this space than actually bad for the individual players.
Okay, so before we let you go, I'm going to ask you what do you think would be your outlook for microinsurance in the current market in short to medium term? What should players in that particular market expect, and what would you advise they do in order to get microinsurance right? Okay,
yes. So for me, in the well, especially like if you can focus in Kenya. Recently, the IRA, the Kenya Insurance Regulator, approved the microinsurance regulations. This means as of this time, you can open a company specifically for microinsurance, and like say 2019 and the years before. So that definitely opens up opportunities. So guys can now they can now actually form this small insurance focused specifically on microinsurance. So I expect to see a lot of mushrooming, more insurtechs, more microinsurance companies coming up and trying to solve the same challenges we are doing. Then for the existing companies, what you're going to see now, the existing microinsurance players are going out to invest more because there's now more confidence into investing into this space. You can see what recently happened between Microinsure and the microinsurance company merger to become the microinsurance company, because people now have confidence to actually now start investing into this space. So in terms of the technology that models that I would advise, well, I would say, so there's one aspect that has really, the conversation keep on rotating around the same thing, and we've actually done the same thing in this talk, is that about distribution. How do we distribute? How do we make sure insurance reaches these people? But there's an area which has often been neglected, and that's claim processing. Once you do this distribution, you get to a big telco which has 30 million customers. Then you have this, then you start getting busy, because you're insuring 30 million people. So let's say even if you get a million or two out of that, you start becoming a very busy person. And what happens is that after selling, then comes to the fulfilling of the promise, which is claim payment. So you start receiving crazy claims. Claims are coming day in, day out. And I've actually experienced this from my experience, getting so many claims, like the health space, you get so many claims. And you realize you probably need to expand your team, your claims team. And what I've seen is the company now start, because even if the claims are automated, they're not 100% automated. There's still a lot of documentation coming through and being reviewed, manually by people looking at documents and deciding whether this claim is valid or not. I think claim processing some area that has been ignored and probably needs to get more attention. Like, how do we automate claims? How do we minimize, say, human intervention by cut it by almost 50%, so you don't have to review every single document to approve whether this claim is valid or not. And I use the learnings of the likes of Lemonade outside there to see, yes, we don't do copy-paste, solutions, but that tells you automation is actually possible. So the claim processing bit, I think, something that needs to be paid a lot more attention and think about automating that space for sustainability.
Fantastic. I like that you mentioned Lemonade because I've been following through and it's so amazing the time they use payout claims. Like it's really, really, really impressive. And like you mentioned, if Lemonade can do it, then it's possible for all of our claims processes to. We really don't even have any skills. So it means that we can actually automate some of our claims, most of our claims processes, which is good. So, Louis, if people want to contact you, and ask about your startup, how exactly do they reach out to you?
So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you get on LinkedIn anytime, Bishop, I'll respond in probably less than 5 minutes. Then I could put down my email, which is kinuthia.luisfrancis@gmail.com. The easiest way, let me say, is just LinkedIn. Just inbox me on LinkedIn. And we'll start the conversation from there.
Okay, so thank you very much, Louis, for coming on our podcast. I mean, it's a pleasure having you here. We hope to have these conversations, with you from time to time, especially as it relates to micro insurance and, other parts of insurance. So once again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And this is actually a really good work that you guys are doing, getting this information out there, having these conversations. That's how you move an industry forward. Together we educate the masses, and the microinsurance stories, go round and round, and more people know about it, and more people invest in it. I think that's how we move forward. So thank you so much for investing your time in this.
Thank you.
Hi, and welcome to the news update. My name is Opeolua, and here are the headlines. NICOM announces demise of the ex-commissioner for insurance, Emmanuel Chukwulozie. Insurers pushes for NICOM to postpone recapitalization deadline. Consolidated Hallmark introduces claims tracking platform to enhance customer experience. Now the details. NICOM announces the demise of the former Commissioner for Insurance, Emmanuel Chukwulozie. The National Insurance Commission, NICOM, has announced the demise of the former Commissioner for Insurance, Chief Emmanuel Okechukwu Chukwulozie, who passed away on the 7th of November 2020. Chief Chukwulozie, who was also a lawyer, headed the commission between the 18th of November 2004 to the 20th of March 2007. He supervised the recapitalization exercise in the industry in 1997, when the federal government mandated insurance companies to raise their capital base from $150 million to $2 billion for life companies, $200 million to $3 billion for general business, $500 million to $5 billion for composite companies, and $350 million to $10 billion for reinsurance companies. Insurers pushes for NICOM to postpone recapitalization deadline. Insurance operators are capitalizing on COVID-19 pandemic as well as the NSAS protest impacts on the ongoing recapitalization exercise in the industry and are requesting for the extension of the deadline to 31st of December 2021 as against the 30th of September 2021, earlier slated by the regulator. Besides that, they are also asking the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, to drop the phased segmentation of the exercise, to which they are to provide a minimum capital requirement before the deadline of 31st December 2020. As directed by NICOM, any company that fails to comply with the minimum paid-up capital of 50% of its capital requirements based on their class business, life, general, or composite may be restricted from certain classes of business effective December 2020. Consolidated Hallmark introduces claims tracking platform to enhance customer experience. To enhance customer experience and make claims processing easy and seamless for customers, Consolidated Hallmark Insurance PLC has introduced an online claims tracking features in its website. With the new capability, customers of the company can now track their submitted claims online from any location and at any time. This allows the customers, individual, corporates, and brokers to easily follow up on their lodged claims in various classes of insurance, including motor, home, marine, oil and gas, and several others in the general insurance business category without having to physically visit, make calls, or subject themselves to cumbersome paperwork. Inanna Wama, Chief Technology Officer of CHI, stated this has been achieved through a recent system upgrade, which ensures an improved turnaround time in service delivery. This is all we have on the news updates. Do stay tuned. Now over to Damola and Folumi.
Hi, this is Paul Miller from London. Really enjoyed the podcast. Keep it going. Thanks very much.
Hi, welcome back. Microinsurance, like I said at the beginning, is something huge, and it's going to play a huge role for the future of insurance on the African continent. We are in Nigeria, right? But there are a lot of learning points that we can take from the Kenya market, South African market, and Louis joined us from Kenya, and he shared a lot of insights as regards, microinsurance and his experience and how it's different from the normal way that we do insurance. What really just jumps out for me is him buttressing my point at the beginning as regards technology and mobile technology, leveraging partnerships with telcos, banks, or even using USSD. That's the future, because we are looking at the emerging markets. These are people that they are low-income earners, and so they might not all have smartphones. But with the regular phone that can dial, you can take advantage of things like the USSD, and then they can buy insurance, they can renew, they can pay, they can do a lot of things, add their beneficiaries and things like that. One important part of that is the fact that all of those platforms that you're partnering, whether it's the telco or the banks, so one, they have customers, they have the people already, right? And those people, because they have been doing business with them for a long time, there's a level of trust that they already have in those ecosystems and platforms. You trust your telco, because when you make a call, definitely will go through and things like that. And so it's where insurance can partner with those guys and be in the background, and just ride on that goodwill that they have to sell insurance, because insurance industry still suffers from that trust that has been lost over the years. So I think that leveraging a lot of those partnerships, and seeing how mobile can push insurance is going to be something huge.
Talking about that, I was even going to mention that the last conference, the just concluded conference, NICOM was invited to come and address the professionals at the forum. And one of the key things that we were able to take on was the fact that NICOM has agreed that they will be more flexible with microinsurance, and which is a good one, because it makes us realize that they've actually seen the fact that there's more gold mine in microinsurance. If that's, pardon me for saying gold mine, but it just seems like that's the future of insurance, especially in Nigeria. If we keep saying that our population strength is over 200 million, and we are having a penetration index of 0.3%. It means that there's something wrong. We're probably just skewing the top of insurance. We're just taking from the top of insurance. We've actually not gone deep into the waters. And so encouraging microinsurance from our regulators, we are likely to see changes in the industry by people who had probably played in that space before. I'm looking to see that maybe the AXA Mansard, Leadway, they have Cornerstone, people that actually played in those space before will begin to come out to partner with organizations like Microinsure, partner with other, maybe Bima, who knows? This will probably be an opportunity for Bima to also penetrate the Nigerian market, as they've played in the space for Ghana and, other nation or other countries. So I think it's a good one. And, having this conversation at this point in time, it would be very nice for a lot of people to actually listen and know how exactly it is that we can use microinsurance to, insure the uninsured.
It's interesting that you mentioned NICOM, and I mean, you at the conference, you spoke at the conference. Are there any other things that you saw or heard at the conference that you think that listeners can benefit from as regards developments that we are going to be seeing in the industry? Are there any talks around from NICOM, for example, as regards some of these guidelines, maybe for microinsurance or even insurtechs?
Okay, so we know that we have guidelines for microinsurance, but these guidelines they are not flexible, like I mentioned earlier. Okay. They're very rigid. Okay. So now NICOM's commitment is that we're going to be more flexible about microinsurance, because it feels like the current guideline kind of stifles microinsurance. So you are not exactly free. So they're not saying you can't do microinsurance. They're just saying before you do microinsurance, you probably will have to sell your left kidney, right? So now we're going to be more supportive when it comes to microinsurance, because as we have realized from all over the world, microinsurance seems to be like the current goal. And that was what I said earlier. Yeah. It's the gold mine. So if we're saying that there are people that are living below $1 per day, those are like the major part of the Nigerian population, if we're refusing to accept that fact. Okay. And so how exactly do we sell insurance to people within that band? And those are the uninsured as it stands today. It seems like the entire corporate and middle class has been saturated so much that they don't even see the value of insurance. It looks like you're begging them literally to buy insurance. So now, how exactly do we partner with people who have been able to penetrate that space? A lot of people now own mobile phones. I've forgotten the percentage. I was privy to the number, but I think we have 143 million Nigerians with mobile phones. So imagine partnering with a telco and you're able to access almost those 143 million Nigerians. Selling microinsurance through telcos would actually give you the numbers, would convert to premiums, and then of course we'll see growth in that particular industry. So for me, I think it's honestly high time for NICOM to do that, and I'm happy that they are also seeing that, and I think from there we'll probably be able to get some of those changes, effective changes in the industry, because most of us, that's the operators, actually fear NICOM more than any other corporate organization in the industry. So yes, if it's coming from NICOM, it means that we'll be seeing a lot of changes within the space.
Yeah, that's interesting. It can only bring positive changes and improvements, because I mean, even right now, we see in the industry, like, for example, Zenith Insurance and AXA Mansard, for example, as well. Yeah. They are already partnering with telcos, and stuff like that. So with an improved guideline and commitment from NICOM, I think that all of these things can even go further. I mean, we have some other countries where people can actually purchase insurance with their airtime credit. So, I mean, those are things that could be possible. So these are some of the conversations that we are looking to have, at our upcoming conference, the InsurTech Business Series conference. It's going to hold on the 27th of November. It's fast approaching. We are doing a countdown already. The theme for the conference is innovation and partnerships for sustainable insurance. And we're going to be talking to a variety of speakers from different parts of Africa, even outside of Africa. We're going to be talking deeply about simplifying insurance for the emerging markets. We're going to be talking about how fintechs can also play a role in improving penetration and improving the way people buy insurance. And we're also going to be talking about opportunities around customer experience and the distribution part of the insurance value chain. So it's going to be an interesting and packed event, and it's free. So
very free. Yeah, everybody is allowed to participate.
Yes, so we are hoping to have as many people come in to really just learn, and we are quite interested in learning, we're interested in spurring innovation and also networking as well. So those are some of the things that this conference will help you bring you. So you learn from people on some of these panel discussions and presentations, and that would definitely spur up innovation, or in your company where you work, or if you get inspired to start up something and just get that thing off the ground, because the opportunity is huge, and it's high time that we as Nigerians, as Africans, we start creating our own solutions for our own country, for our own continent, for Africa by Africa, so that's why we're having the conversation during the conference, and we are inviting everyone.
You can get the link to register on our various pages. You can get it on Twitter at Insure365. You can get it on LinkedIn,
Facebook, and on Instagram as well.
Instagram too. So it's important for you to register and for you to participate. We need to push and move the insurance industry forward. It's important for us to, engage in all of this conversation, for us to see how we can contribute to our various economy.
Yeah. I mean, most importantly is the fact that if you look at the penetration of insurance on the African continent, is about 3%. So there's opportunity, in the market. So that means that, and that's why we're talking a lot about microinsurance, because that can be leveraged to scale. A simple insurance. I mean, just off the top of my head, earlier we had the conversation with Dr. Ikpeme Neto with Wella Health, and they're selling malaria insurance, which is just about $1, a month. Those are sachet products that, can scale easily. And so those are some of the conversations that we're going to be having.
All right. So thank you again for, listening to this, our podcast. We hope to see you at the conference. Don't forget to register. It's really important. And we'll continue this conversation, from time to time. Hope you stay safe. We are hearing that coronavirus numbers beginning to spike again. So please, as much as possible, try to stay safe. And don't forget to wear your nose mask and use your hand sanitizers. Thank you, and take care.
Stay safe.